Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Miss Linda C. Jones YouTube Variety channel. I am coming to you live from my beautiful historic hometown of New Orleans, Louisiana, and you're listening to Dr. Jazz himself, the music of Jelly Roll Morton, a little bit of a piece called The Crave. Welcome back to my channel again. So this video says Jelly Roll Morton, part 4. I've been reading from a really cool book and sharing some excerpts with you, and I read the entirety. My set is falling apart right now. I read the entirety of the preface to you, and I decided to do some excerpts from different chapters. So before I get ready to go into chapter 2, I want to read a little bit more for you from the chapter 1 entitled The District. Again, the name of the book is Jelly's Blues, The Life, Music, and Redemption of Jelly Roll Morton by authors Howard Reich and William Gaines. And my reading some excerpts for you is hopefully an inspiration for anyone who is interested in this incredible artist's music and his life, that it may inspire you to learn more about him or to find a copy of this book and to read it as I am. Okay, so I thought that some of page 14 is very interesting, so I'd like to read a little bit of that for you, and then I'll do a little bit of commentary. And do bear with me, my arm is bothering me a lot today. I'm in the midst of treatment for rotator tears, so I am mega looking forward to when this is all taken care of and I'm back to 100%. So I'll try to bring my usual joyful self to this video, but I just wanted to kind of let you all know that your prayers are deeply appreciated. All right, so on page 14 it says, the large house where Jelly Roll Morton was born as Ferdinand Joseph Lamoth. The house looked regal for its environs, occupying a spacious lot at 1443 Frenchman Street, downtown in the 7th Precinct, 7th Ward. Its brick and cement foundation supported a white frame structure stretching so long it obviated the prospect of a backyard. With its porch fully shaded by the second floor overhang and a second-story dormer that looked out on the rest of the block, which at the time contained only one other house, this estate, as Morton called it, was enormous among its neighbors, not as spacious, to be sure, as the mansion brothels that later employed the young man, but big enough to suggest that the young Ferd grew up amid comfort. Wow. It says also in another paragraph on page 14, but whether Morton was born on September 20, 1885, as he swore, or October 20, 1890, as the unreliable baptismal citation states, there's no dispute that he spent the late 1890s at the Frenchman Street address, christened by his godparents Paul and Eulalie Haycott. He lived with an extended family that grew up quickly each year. In February 1894, his mother married William Mouton, a light-skinned black man who signed the marriage certificate with an X and toiled as a porter in hotels and clubs. Again, this was, keep in mind, everybody, this is my commentary right now, but turn of the century, 1904 New Orleans. The arrival of their two daughters, Amédée Eugenie Mouton and Frances Mouton, meant that Ferd now basked in the attention of two half-sisters as well as that of his grandmother, Laura, and her family, and as well, rather, as his uncle Auguste, or Gus Monette, which, by the way, is a New Orleans name, and Aunt Alina Pichet and their relatives. The warmth of this extended Creole family with Ferd as its first son was matched only by its inevitable raucousness, if you will. Moreover, in a house where trombone, guitar, piano, and other instruments were practically strewn about, Ferd could have avoided music if he had wanted to. Okay, so just a little bit of my commentary right here. That's very interesting because, as you can see, he was surrounded by music, and it took hold. So that's always a very powerful thing. As a professional musician, and people that I have tried in my life to nurture musically and help to pay forward um, all that has been taught to me, isn't that great when we can pay something forward, teach our youth, and all of that good stuff? I'm always fascinated as to how much musical influence, whether it be by another relative or whether it be by instruments that are around, whatever the case may be. I've always found that fascinating to find out how someone who is a professional musician, or becomes a professional musician, what was their influences, how did they grow up, what drew them to know that they could only do music, that that's what they had to do. Um, Also, just on a side note, we all have challenges in life, and I have to say that being able to read this book in some time that I have to read it has greatly been a wonderful source of not only inspiration for me, but something to delve into as I continue to work and continue to go to physical therapy for my full healing from this accident. So I just want to say, in the midst of reading this book, I'm so grateful for the book because it's, helping me a lot with those things. It's great to be able to elevate our hearts and souls and minds to other things. And what better than that which is music, especially since I'm a musician. So this is beyond cool on many, many, many levels. All right, so I want to drop down to the last paragraph on page 16, still in chapter 1 of the book Jelly's Blues. It says, yet even as Ferd was embracing the high art of grand opera, he also learned music in the traditional New Orleans way, on the streets, singing in a cappella quartets at the corner of Jackson and Robertson. He studied harmony in the best way possible by making it. Isn't that the truth? Those days I belonged to a quartet, and of course we specialized in spirituals, recalled Morton. The boys had some beautiful harmony, they sang. Of course, we got together and made all kinds of crazy ideas of harmony, which make it beautiful and made it possible for anyone to jump in and sing. I tell you, we had such beautiful numbers to sing at all times. It also goes on to say that he had a few years of guitar lessons that made him proficient, but obviously he continued to be drawn to the piano. It even lets us know that in the beginning, let's see, it talks about in the beginning he actually didn't care for the piano. And then the piano became his home. On page 17 of chapter 1, it goes on to talk about the raunchy blues notes, the relentless rhythms, and the barrel house keyboard attacks that Ferd's stepfather deemed vulgar were forbidden in the Morton home. So the family that surrounded him, seemingly in the book, rejected the type of music that Ferdinand, or Ferd, or Jelly Roll as he became known as, They rejected the music that he was gravitating towards. So again, just a little commentary, you know, when any artist goes up against that which is often rejected by people so close to you, it is truly, truly another example, I think, of having to rise up like a phoenix from the ashes, because you know that that is placed within you. And so, in my musical experience, you are constantly trying to find those ways that rise above that, right? That rise up like a phoenix from the ashes, because you know that that what is placed within you, it has to come from the higher power, the source, the creator. Yes, God. And that's very, very, very powerful. So it goes on to talk about Jelly Roll Ferd, as he was known at that time, needing a place of his own away from his family that dictated this mentality. So I'm assuming that they're letting us know he needed his own place to live so that he was able to further pursue the music that was in him and all that he would soon create. And it says that in the most obvious place, the part of New Orleans where music was everywhere and the spotlight inevitably shone on the man who played piano best, he knew that he had to be there, right? So it says that one night I was at the Frenchman's earlier than usual, and someone in the neighboring houses came in looking for a piano player. The boys with me told them I could play and would take the job. I was afraid to, but finally agreed to go if the boys would be allowed to go with me. However, the boys were put in another room, and I was put at the piano and told to play. I was so scared that I couldn't play a note and was almost kicked out. My friends came out and insisted that I was all right, and I got my confidence back and played. Wow. Wow. So all I can personally say about that is I think many of us professional musicians have had that kind of story, right, when we were younger. And then all of the sudden, the phoenix did rise up from the ashes. It rose up from within the ashes within us. And there was nothing that could be done but for us to create. Again, that is, in my opinion, a very, and I know in my heart, a very powerful reminder from God. On page 21, it says, you'd hear the music in the street, organ grinders pulling their instrument on a two-wheel cart going from barroom to barroom, and you heard peddlers shouting their waves. You heard music everywhere because everything you did was done musically in New Orleans. I have to repeat that. Everything you did was done musically in New Orleans. New Orleans was a French town and a party town. There was an abundance of entertainment. You could walk down the street and hear a party going on till 11 o'clock the next morning. I mean, obviously, I have to do some commentary there just by saying, number one, oh, so true. And where the paragraph states that you heard music everywhere because everything you did was done musically in New Orleans, there it is. There it is. Everything is done musically in New Orleans. There is such a high vibrational frequency in this, my hometown, my historic hometown, that to be a musician here just radiates everything. Now, obviously, those radiation, high frequency, vibrational vibes are felt in other cities as well. I'll tell you a little bit more about a documentary that I was watching before I went to bed. And yes, indeed, there is something about the water and what's in the water, wherever it is that you live, and the music that can be produced from any area. But of course, right now we're talking about my hometown. So I think that I'm going to read one more little section and then I'm going to wrap this video up. Toward the bottom of page 23, it says, in music of the church, of French opera, and the streets shaped, the way the streets are shaped Morton's still art, and so did the work of New Orleans's preeminent pianist, singer, songwriter, Tony Jackson, the one man whose technique and original songwriting left Ferd in awe. Ferd considered Jackson the greatest entertainer that New Orleans ever produced, a man who could play and sing from opera to blues in its correct formation and knew everything that probably was ever printed. Carew, too, fell under Jackson's spell while strolling the district. And I'm going to go ahead and go all the way to the last little paragraph that is found in chapter 1, the district. So when I resume this video of part 5 that I'm creating of my dissertations and commentary on Jelly's Blues, The Life, Music, and Redemption of Jelly Roll Morton by authors Howard Reich and William Gaines, I will begin with chapter 2. But to wrap up chapter 1, the dazzling piano player Carew, heard while exploring the district, was thrust out into the world. His apprenticeship abruptly concluded. Ferd took to the road, bearing the unique musical gifts and singular romantic charms from which he was to fashion his most complex and mysterious creation, Jelly Roll Morton. All I can say is wow, 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 and wow. Powerful preface, powerful chapter 1, powerful gift to me. And thank you all so much for the prayers about my continued healing on my arm. It's getting there. I've just got to keep on keeping on, which was a saying when I was a little girl in the 1970s. I've got to keep on keeping on. That's my phone, but I'll call them back in just a second. Thank you all for being a part of the Miss Linda C. Jones YouTube variety channel. If you're just happening to happen upon my channel, please consider subscribing. And thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. Thank you so much for everything. So I'm praying for you. Thank you for praying for me. And peace out and God bless. I really appreciate all of you. Take care.